with big dreams comes big challenges.
Sometimes, life tests your limits, makes you question the decisions that you made, and makes you prove how much you really want it.
We are Luke and Lori, and we bought a rusty old boat in Brazil to live on. But first, we're gonna need to completely rebuild it. This episode's gonna be a wild one all the way to the end. So don't forget to subscribe, and then get your harness on and clip in. Because my friend, there's a storm coming, and it's about to get ugly.
Ó, vai rasgar as velas lá, cara, olha.
Out of nowhere hits an enormous storm, catching everyone by surprise. Violent winds rip through the coastal line and no one is prepared. As the day turns to night, there was nothing we could do, so we waited, hoping everything would be okay, including our little boat. Now, as you recall, we were here, in the water, just days before the storm, cutting a huge hole in our little sailboat for what we planned to be an amazing new cockpit. Our idea of saving money by starting some cutting in the water was backfiring fast. Now our boat, and all that was stored inside of it, was left vulnerable. We were over an hour away from the club, and it was too dangerous to venture out. We had secured tarps over the entire boat, but with the high winds we couldn't guarantee they would stay, let alone provide enough protection. Needless to say, it was a long, sleepless night. In the morning, Luke rushed to the boat to evaluate the damage and check if it was still there.
Hey babe, the boat's okay, but there's a lot of water inside. It's raining a lot last night. I removed the water with the pump, but there will be more rain tomorrow, so we'll have to leave the boat, okay?
Overnight, the Rio de Janeiro coastal line had been hit with up to 7 centimeters of rain and winds up to 70 kilometers an hour. Lucky our boat had survived the storm, but with the prediction of more rain to come, we couldn't risk leaving her in the water. So that rainy, fateful day, we removed the mast and lifted her onto land. It was cold. Everything was wet and worn, but at least now we could sleep well, knowing that we hadn't lost the battle before it had begun.
Time is relative, isn't it? Things speed up, slow down. There's a calm after every storm, breath after every moment, where you can take refuge from the past and the future. But we don't have time for that. The boat is on land now, way ahead of schedule, so it's time to get back to making this dream a reality.
First step will be evaluating the hull, and that means we need to finish removing all of the interior and then sand everything inside in order to see if the steel plates are in good condition. So let's go. We started by meticulously removing each piece of wood, which was way easier said than done. There was a decent amount of rot where humidity and water had been in contact with the wood. You could tell the parts that were repaired versus original based on the quality of the build, but overall there was nothing worth salvaging since it had been neglected for so long. As we got down to the hull, things were looking good. The protective paint seemed to be holding up, there was only small spots of rust near the frame where the fresh water was collecting, and we were feeling pretty positive at this point.
Once everything is removed, we could start paint stripping. This is a really critical step. Since we bought a used boat, it's really important for us to see the steel plates to confirm if there's any rust or corrosion, especially below the waterline.
Additionally, sealants and paints usually guarantee protection for a limited amount of time. Though it had been painted within the last 2 to 3 years on the outside, it didn't look like the interior had been updated since it was built, which was over 25 years ago. So we started by scraping off any large chunks of paint to reduce the amount of sandpaper and solvent products we would have to use. We then applied paint remover and got to sanding. But after a couple of days of this process, we knew we had to call in the reinforcements to finish the job.
Update on construction of the boat is a forecast of rain.
Each day we would arrive at the boat and tackle what the day had to throw at us. With no protection from the weather, it sometimes felt like an uphill battle. Then we would get back to the process of stripping it down to the steel. It was like slowly chipping away at a stone with the hopes that something beautiful was inside. Always trying to keep our mind's eye on the finish line. After all, every act of creation begins with an act of destruction. And boy, did we mean destruction. The more we looked, the more damage we found. We couldn't believe our eyes. This was not what we were expecting. Hold on a second, I know what you're thinking. How could we possibly buy a rusty boat full of holes? Excellent question. When we purchased this boat, we received several photos of it being freshly painted about 2 or 3 years prior. Keep in mind, we were looking for a boat that we could modify and redo the entire interior, but boy, we bit off more than we could chew. Once we removed the wood interior, it revealed a whole different story underneath. We discovered several repairs that were made along the waterline of the boat. These repairs were treated and painted from the outside, but left exposed to rot on the inside. The new squares were flaking off, full of rust. On top of that, a large rotted and blackened panel covers up what appears to be an apparent collision on the port side of the boat. The marks on the hull tell the full story. And the hits just kept coming. Water damage, holes all over the steel that we were expecting to salvage. It went from a boat that was neglected to a boat that was destroyed. Is that masking tape covering up a hole in the roof? Yes, it is, my friend. It is indeed.
Okay, so this is the moment where we would normally show you our breakdown. There was a lot of information coming at us. There was a lot of damage that we were seeing, and honestly, we didn't even have time to process any of it. It was just happening so fast, and we were on land and paying per day to be there. So we were just trying to evaluate the situation and figure out, well, what are we gonna do next? Guys, you don't understand. Look at this. I have this bag full of these little tiny mangoes, and they are literally the most delicious thing I've ever tasted.